Ladies and gentlemen, how are you tonight? Welcome to the Friday edition of the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas. I am here. It's been a heck of a run this week. I don't know if you guys are aware, but last night we did our very own parathon on Halloween night. Don and I got together and did an 8-hour live stream on YouTube, which is the first ever parathon. We've toyed around with the concept, and we gave it a run last night, and it was a good time. It was really good. I didn't know how it'd go. I didn't know if it'd be a 3-hour show or just a little longer than 2 hours, or how long it would go. But we made it until just after 4 a.m. after starting at 8 p.m. Pacific time till 4 a.m. So it was an 8-hour run, and I think we did it good. If you got 8 hours of your life that you don't know what to do with, then head over to YouTube and you can watch the parathon over there. It might make a real long background noise to what you're doing, but it was a lot of fun. We had a great time, great participation from a number of people, including many callers to the show, and our very own Duke Sullivan of World Bigfoot Radio came on, and he talked to us for quite a while, like a good hour, and we went through a whole lot of stuff with him. It was fantastic, and we just had a real good time and a lot of turnout. I was really amazed how many people stuck with us. I when I thought about this, I was like, God, it's on a work night. Who's gonna stick with us? I figured we'd have a handful of people after about midnight, and and we'd just go until we went. But I'm telling you, the audience was just strong the whole way through. So many people stuck right there with us, and it was really cool. So we had a great time, and thank you to all of you who participated last night in the parathon. Special thanks to the Freaky Friday crew. Thank you for all your promotions and endorsements to the Paranormal Portal. I'm absolutely humbled, as always. You guys are amazing. Just yesterday as well, I was on the hour number 1 of the Kev Baker show and had a great time with Kev talking about a whole lot of stuff paranormal. And it was a great conversation, and sneak peek teaser, there may be something in the works as a crossover episode between the Freaky Friday and the Paranormal Portal, but I don't want to let too much out of the bag just yet. But I hear their little bird said that there might be something in the works. So it'd be kind of fun. I mean, it would be one full Friday night power run of a lot of woo and paranormal all mixed together. So I think that would be phenomenal. And, of course, I love those guys. It would be a blast to be on with all three of them, Joe and Scotty as well. So hopefully we can make that happen. And if we can get Don in on that episode, that'd be wonderful too. But we'll let you know as more of that develops, ladies and gentlemen. But I'm just saying, there's talk. So we'll see where it ends up, but just something to look forward to, maybe. It was a good time either way. But welcome to the Friday show, ladies and gentlemen. And as always on the Paranormal Portal, the phones are open. If you have something paranormal or some point of view you'd like to make about the paranormal or the show or whatever, please feel free to call in 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500. And if you're on YouTube, of course, that'll always be on the screen. We are simulcasting live on YouTube, if you guys aren't aware of that. And you can see me doing the show. And you can see on the screen over here above my head, the phone number is up there. So if you want to call in at some point and you forgot the number, that's what it is. If you're on TFR, iHeart, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live, then get a pencil and write down 720-923-0500. 720-923-0500. Now, if you got a story you want to share, but you really don't want to call in, it's not your thing, it kind of, intimidates the hell out of you, then email it. Feel free to email it. I'd be happy to share your story on the air. You can email your stories to us here on the portal by emailing paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. Again, paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. So there's some options, and would love to hear from you guys, because honestly, and this is something Kevin and I both agreed very strongly about, is that the audience participation is what makes these shows amazing. It really does. It's the audience. It's you guys. You guys are the ones that bring your experience. You bring your passion and your interest to it, and you bring us your stories. And I know that I've learned a lot listening to people that have had experiences. And so I would be, honored to hear your experience if you would be so inclined to share that here on the show. Now, how am I doing after 8 hours of live streaming last night? Actually, and oddly enough, pretty good. I thought I would be just a mess all day, and I didn't know if I was going to be able to do a live stream tonight, to be honest with you. But I don't know. It's just something about when that theme music comes on. It's just like, woo, here we go. Because I think it's an act of love. But I love you too, Weird Desk. Thank you so much. I'm just looking at the YouTube chat. All you guys in there, thank you so much. Happy November 1st. You're right, Gemini. It is November 1st, isn't it? My God, that's craziness. Oh, hi, Lisa. Lisa's a mod over in Kev's show, and she always promotes us so well over there. Thank you, Lisa. Love you bunches. We really appreciate it. But yeah, we're just rolling here. So I thought about that, Brent. I'm so glad you look rested. Thanks, Gemini. Don't get me wrong. I was dragging my tail all day, but I just didn't know how much sleep I would be getting. And I ended up getting about maybe 4 hours of sleep, maybe 4.5 by the time I took a nap and stuff. But not a lot. But surprisingly, I'm doing good. So we'll see how long that lasts. I got 2 hour run tonight, so hopefully I can keep that momentum rolling. But yeah, we've got some stuff to go through tonight here. Hopefully I've got a good show lined up for you that'll keep you happily entertained. I hope you've got a warm beverage and dim the lights, burn a candle, maybe some incense, Speaking of that, I'm getting kind of pluggy. maybe that's the tired coming. I think I'm going to light some incense. Now, here's the thing with doing a paranormal show, ladies and gentlemen. You can believe this or you cannot believe it. It's up to you. But I'm here to tell you that something happens, at least for me. And I'll run this by you. Now, so here's my belief, and I'm not sure that this is the case. But I know that on the show, I've experienced lots of strangeness. Lots of weird things. Now, I've also had a lifetime full of weird experiences, so that's not necessarily unique to me doing a show. I mean, I've had a lot of different experiences through my life. I think that some people are just tuned into it or tuned to it, maybe not into it, but tuned to it. And I seem to be one of those people, and that's not a self-elevating statement, believe me. I mean, for the most part, it's just kind of just oddness. It doesn't neither propel nor anchor my life in any way. It's just some odd things happen. But I noticed that doing a show, that it seems to, I don't know, for lack of a better term, almost magnetize certain energies to become more present. And it's not constantly. It's not. Thank you. It's not constantly. It's not like every day something really wild and wacky happens. But it's enough. It's enough times that things have happened that I go, I think it has to do with the show. And so as part of the show, I always deal a lot with saging and incenses and stuff and different sounds and crystals to try to keep that energy level leveled out. And some of you out there might be thinking, what? Come on. But I'm here to tell you, when you talk about this stuff all the time, I'm pretty sure that does create a magnetism, an energy vortex of sorts. Not a portal, but it creates it's like, have you ever had the idea someone was talking about you? And have you ever found out you were right? And how could you know that? Well, I think it's kind of similar in the regards with the paranormal, that when we talk about phenomena, perhaps they just are somehow maybe a little more aware of it, or maybe they just feel this urge or this compulsion to go check out what the hell's going on over there. So I don't know. I've had a lot of weird things happen here at the house. Nothing too hardcore. A couple of situations that I probably, I'm not quite sure what I'm dealing with for the most part. But I've managed to keep it all pretty tempered. But I just find that really interesting that by virtue of discussion, that may create a magnetism and create a raised level of energy for that kind of phenomena to potentially happen. And maybe it's just the fact that I'm accepting of these phenomena that It is my belief that in a lot of cases for ghosts that they just want to be acknowledged, that perhaps they lived their life and they traumatically died or surprisingly died or maybe didn't realize they died, but they're sure something's not right and they don't know why nobody talks to them anymore. And so I think in some cases they just want to be acknowledged. And so perhaps that's maybe why they maybe come through and check out what the hell's going on. So, but yeah, I really believe that that's true. Again, for psychic mediums or psychics in general, most of the time they do the same thing. They will cleanse their space constantly because they're, dealing with a lot of different energies as well. So I think that if you guys at home believe in the paranormal and you believe that maybe some activity starts getting kicked up, I think you should spend some time learning how to level that out through whatever course you choose. Now, that doesn't mean you've got to buy sage and chant some weird words and stuff like that. That's not what I'm implying. You can cleanse energy in a very religious manners within your religious paradigms. There's many ways to do it, and no one way is right and no one way is wrong. It just, whatever resonates with you is what will be powerful in you cleansing your environment. But also, we had a guest on a while back named Jeffrey Seelman, a very, very wonderful guy. I'm going to have to get him back on for the podcast. I know that's always been on my to-do list, but I haven't managed to get to it yet. But he made a really good point one time. He's like, it's not just spiritual energy you got to worry about. It's emotional energy. He said that emotional energy imprints just as much as spiritual energy. And so if you're in a bad relationship and you just got out of a bad relationship, but you're still living in the same place, it's really hard to move past that energy unless you take it out of your environment, because it's not just you that you have to fix, that you have to heal. I believe we also have to heal our homes after those really intense relationships and those experiences, because when you're casting all kinds of anger at somebody, and it's the heat of passion, everybody says stupid crap. We all have said it. We've all said mean things that we really didn't mean, but we were really so angry at the time that we said them, and so those leave an imprint on our environment. And so I think it's important to learn how to cleanse. And even if it's, you're not through the relationship, maybe you just had a big blowout, maybe one of the best, quickest ways to help heal is to cleanse the environment. And then maybe you can cleanse the relationship by talking and coming to understanding. But if that air is so supercharged still, there's a psychic imprint that remains from those arguments, and it can make fixing problems harder. So if you're not already familiar with this kind of stuff, and the portal will never be about telling you what you should or shouldn't do, I'm just offering you advice. But I would look into it, because how often do we see people repeating the same things over and over again, having the same arguments over and over again? And it's like Einstein said, the true definition of insanity is repeating the same actions but expecting different results. Well, maybe part of what's causing you to repeat those actions is just that you keep feeling that imprint, and that reminds you of an anger, and that reminds you of an insecurity, and that reminds you of what that person did, and it reminds you to be angry and keeps you in a base emotion place. And then, by virtue of that, you end up sending more into your environment, because you get enraged again, you get angry again, you have the same argument again, and then the imprint becomes more powerful. So I don't know why I'm bringing that up. I suppose maybe it's just somebody out there needs to hear it. Maybe you all need to hear it. And maybe I need to remember it. But I think that things come up for a reason. So I would look into it. Look into things like sage. Look into things like, how to cleanse your home and your surroundings with love, with your religion, whatever that might be, talk to your spiritual leaders. Have them help you learn how to balance out the energy in your home and get rid of anger and sadness and hate and hurt, and try to bring in the good things and see if that doesn't help your situation. We seem to be in a real disposable society right now where things like divorce and things like that are not really uncommon, and it's sometimes easier to trade in than it is to work on the things that are broken. And if you don't fix the things that are broken, no matter what you do, you're going to repeat the same mistakes. So I think part of it is just learning how to heal ourselves, heal our environment, heal our homes, and try to raise that energy level a little bit so it makes it easier to heal. So, just my 2 cents on that. Again, I'm not sure why I'm bringing it up. I hope it meant something to somebody out there. I don't know. I think it's pretty powerful stuff, though. And I think, honestly, in our Western world, we don't know about this kind of stuff. We don't know because it's not part of our Western identity. Our identity is to turn up the music, maybe go for a drive. That's how we process. And, we have really never really deal with a lot of stuff in many cases. And then we do deal with stuff and we work real hard at it, but still end up in the same situations. And why is that? Well, maybe you've got a big imprint of energy that keeps pulling you back into that place. And it's a place within you. So that energy of your house resonates to something in you that is broken and hurt. And that amplifies it. So knock down the energies around you in your home, in the place where you need to feel the safest. That's your home. And see if that doesn't help. Just my advice, my 2 cents. Take it or leave it. But there it is. Right off the bat here, I don't know why I went into all that. I'm sorry. It just came out just like that. So I have to believe it was supposed to, for whatever that's worth. I got some cool pictures, but I can't share them because they weren't meant for everybody, but I was really impressed by that. Here we go. I've got an email from our good friend Linda in Minnesota. I think I can get this read before the break. So let's get to this. This is Linda from Minnesota. She has written us another story. This woman has a lot of experiences, and they're really profound experiences. So buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get into this story and find if this is something you need. Find out if this is just as amazing as all our other stories, which I'm sure it will be. Okay. All right. So it says, Linda in Minnesota. Over the years, we've had many things just disappear. Most of these things have just gone missing when Scott and I lived alone. Without any of the kids here, we don't just lose things, and we try to take good care of our belongings. Much to our disgust, nothing has ever been returned. Oh, that's horrible. Some of the things missing include 2 of Scott's hoodies that went missing several years apart, my candy kettle for making peanut brittle, 2 pair of my favorite earrings that I often wore, a really good paring knife that I got after standing through a live 15-minute demonstration, my small Pyrex mixing bowl that I would beat eggs in, and the list goes on of tools, kitchen items, clothing, and just odd things that we normally would just use very often, if not daily. Stuff that we would be sure to miss. It became apparent fairly soon that this was another paranormal thing that was happening here. However, Halloween morning, I started to make my lunch for work, and I reached for my favorite kitchen knife that was next to the sink where I had put it the day before, but it wasn't there. I started to search for it, and Scott started to help me look for it, but I just wasn't there. I was really bummed. I've had that knife for over 40 years, and I'm possessive of it. Scott never even uses it. I had to carry on, and we went to work. We ride together into Minneapolis, even though Scott's work starting time is earlier than mine. All day long, I thought about that knife, and I was past perturbed, and went on to really angry, and that paranormal thief took it, or some weird portal swallowed it up. Why does this stupid stuff keep happening to us? When we got home that afternoon, Scott started to looking for it. I told him to give up. It's gone. A big kitchen knife can't hide all that well, and he pulled open another drawer far away from the drawer that is normally stored in, and started rummaging around, and he took in a large breath and then pulled up the knife. He said it had been perfectly flat against the side of the drawer, blade down, handle towards the front of the drawer. No way it could have fallen in like that. How do you put that, Brent? Like taking clothes out of the dryer that are already folded. Yeah. Either whatever took it brought it back, or a spirit that wanted to help returned it. Even though this was the first time we got something back, I thought that this latest prank was far from funny. but I really am grateful to get it back and have given many thanks to whomever returned it. Oh, yeah, that sucks. If you're getting that much stuff taken, that would be horrible. I mean, we all lose stuff, and granted, that happens. Uh, Sometimes you put things down weird places. I know my minion can lose stuff in a heartbeat. And it almost seems like it gets imported because he'll be sitting down and suddenly there's no remote. And I'll toss the whole house and find it in a weird place. And it's just him when he's got that sense of occupation with things, like whatever he's holding, if he sees something else he's interested in, stuff just kind of goes flying. So, but yeah, I know what that's like. I've lost things through the years too that I can't explain, and I don't know, where did they go? Where did they go? Well, one time we did a story of these people moved into this house where things kept disappearing, including a wash rag that a woman used just minutes prior as they were trying to pry apart this old dresser chest of drawers that was stuck. They couldn't open it. It just wouldn't open. And so the husband got a pry bar and a hammer and just destroyed the thing. Got it open. When they opened it, these drawers had never been opened before. They found every item inside of that chest of drawers that had been missing throughout their house for months, including the wash rag the mom had just used minutes prior. How was it in that chest? How was it suddenly inside of a chest, along with other items that were suddenly inside of that chest from somewhere? How did they go through the wood sides and get in there? How come the drawers wouldn't open? Or was the drawers maybe being held shut by something that was his special place? I don't know. But maybe there's something like that in your house, Linda. I don't know. That's a bummer, though, if you've lost that much stuff. I really feel bad for you. Those are called deports when spirits take things, and apports when they return, apports. And not necessarily when they return either. Apports can be just gifts you'd never had before. I believe that my grandfather gave me an apport, and it was this beautiful agate that I always carry with me. And it was a white agate. And the story goes, I was living in the old place down in Minnesota, where I'm from, and just on the shores of the Mississippi. And now the story goes, my grandfather died before I was born, and my wife and I and children lived in the house that my grandma and grandfather had built and had lived in. And I never got to know my grandfather, and I always wondered, I wonder if he's happy that we're here. I wonder if he likes that we're here. And I was thinking about that through, a period of time, because I'd never known the guy. But all my childhood, I was told how much I reminded everybody of him. So I felt like we were somehow connected in that manner, but I would never know. And so I was sitting in the living room area on my recliner and watching television, and I got up, stepped 5 feet away to the refrigerator just inside of the kitchen door, which is close to my recliner. And my son and his girlfriend were sitting on the couch, and I turned around to go back to, and they were sitting on a part of the couch which was not right next to the recliner. Let me just say that for a point of reference. I turned around from stepping 3 times to go to a fridge, grab a refreshment, turn around, and there on the chair where I just got up from was this strange rock that I'd never seen before. It was this beautiful agate, not really common for that area. There's lots of red agates there. Tons of red agates in that area, but not a lot of white agates that I've ever found. And I grew up on those beaches looking for agates. And I was sitting to my son, I said, where'd this come from? He goes, well, what is that? I said, this rock, did you put it here? And he goes, no. And his girlfriend said, no, we've been over on the other side of the couch. And sure enough, I knew they were. But it just surprised me. And then I got to thinking, my grandfather was real well known in the community for getting up at about 5 a.m. every morning, 4:30 or 5 a.m., and he would walk on the beach and watch the sun come up while he went and looked for agates. And I thought, wow, I wonder if that's my grandfather saying he's happy we're here. And so for me, it was a really special thing, It was this maybe an answer. So it was an apport that actually answered a profound question that I had. And I thought that was really cool. So I've always treasured that stone, and I always carry it with me. So very cool, though. True stories, but they sometimes if things show up, maybe look at it and wonder, is this answering some question you've been asking and without realizing it? I think that spirits do try to communicate with us and our loved ones especially, and sometimes they do it through things, because obviously you may not be able to hear the words or hear their thoughts or, even see them. So sometimes they may do it through items. So keep that in mind as you're running through your journey. But we're going to go to break number 1, ladies and gentlemen, right now on the Paranormal Portal. So I hope you guys are enjoying the run so far. We got an hour and a half left to go. So don't go away for more of the Paranormal Portal. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The first half hour is behind us. Half hour number 2 is now underway. So I hope you are all ready and enjoying the ride so far. The phone lines are open. 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500. If you've got any port or deport stories of your own. Have you ever been gifted something? Ever had something given to you and not sure where it came from? Sometimes it can be very spiritual in nature, I believe. I really do believe that. I see Don popped into the chat room there. I suppose I could see who's here. Yeah, Renee, I didn't say there's, I didn't say only a half hour left. I said the first half hour's done. We got an hour and a half left. So I wouldn't dream of shutting down the show early again. Don and I did that once, and it was funny, and that actually made the parathon last night. We showed a clip of that. We showed a bunch of funny clips last night. It was pretty hilarious. But if you missed it, we had a lot of fun doing that show. And it's funny, even though it was 8 hours of streaming, it really didn't feel like anything near that. It felt like probably what a 2-hour show should feel like, but usually the 2-hour shows feel like they're about a half hour, and bedtime stories feel like they're about 5 minutes. It just goes so quickly on the live streams, and when we do them, the time just flies. And I think that's a lot to do with the community, with the material, with all the involvement. Remember, tomorrow night here on the show, we have a really spectacular guest. Donald Raymond Schmidt will be joining us here on the portal tomorrow night. And he is an incredible UFO researcher. He's written and co-written so many books about the Roswell cover-up and all of the amazing questions that are left unanswered about all of that. And he's just a spectacular guy, and really was a lot of fun to have on the first time. I'm really looking forward to having him back. That'll be a good show. So that's tomorrow night here on the portal. We've always got new things underway. You just never know what's going to turn up here on the shows. But yeah, Donald Raymond Schmidt tomorrow night, again, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on TFR Live, or iHeart, or TuneIn TalkStream Live, or you can find us on YouTube as well. And if you haven't already, please check out our podcast. We just hit number 18 in the U.S. for natural sciences, which is a huge honor. Our podcast is now 18th in the United States in our category for natural sciences, which is the only category we could pick, which is the same category as like the Confessionals and Sasquatch Chronicles uses. Unfortunately, iTunes doesn't have a paranormal category or anything more specific than that. So you try to pick one that at least is somewhere in the neighborhood of where you are. So that's where we are. But we hit number 18, so that was really exciting. It's a really volatile list. It's not like we're just gonna only be climbing up. We go up and down all the time, but this is the highest we've ever rated on there that I have seen. So really exciting stuff, and it's special thanks to all of you guys, and thanks to Revolver Podcast, of course, for helping put us out there. I appreciate that. So number 18 in the United States. We're number 8 in Canada, if you can believe that, in the same category. What? So, I don't know. Thank you. I appreciate that, Gemini. That's sweet. So yeah, things are going, things are moving, things are shaking, but that's the listener email segment of the show, and thank you, Linda, for sending that in. I really do appreciate it. It's really cool to get stories from you guys, and if any of you all have email that you'd like to send in or material you'd like shared on the show, please feel free to talk to us by email, and that can be done by emailing paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. So anyway, I got a whole lot of stupid stuff open here. I got to close some windows. Otherwise, I'm going to end up in some... oh, my God. Oh, my God, I forgot about this. If you want a good laugh, ladies and gentlemen, last night, Carrie Arnold popped into the marathon. And it was the funniest thing I've ever seen. Don is an amazing part of the show. He really is. He's a great deal of fun. He's a lot of fun to talk to on the shows. His personality really helps to make this show really spectacular. I mean, it's just a really cool synergy that he and I have, and but he's very unique. Don's a very unique person. I can honestly say I've never met another Don in my life. I've only met one Don, and I've not met other guys named Don, but they're nothing like Don. It was Blue Line Bigfoot last night on the Bigfoot Odyssey special that they had last night, which featured, of course, Wes Germer and Tony Merkel were guests last night. But Blue Line Bigfoot came on and did a parody. And they did a parody that I don't know how much I should tell you, but you know what? I think I'm just gonna show you guys because we were able to share it last night. If many of you weren't there, you wouldn't. Oh, you know what? It's a visual thing, and we're on TFR. So I'm just say go to Bigfoot Odyssey on YouTube, pull up last night's show, and go to about the 25-minute mark, and start watching there. Or you can watch the whole thing. It's a good episode all the way through. But if you if you watch there, you'll catch one of the funniest impressions I think I've ever seen in my life. And that's all I'm going to say about it. But I was just howling. We did show it last night on the Parathon. If you want to watch that, you're welcome to. It is on there on camera. So that's on YouTube, on our YouTube archives. But it was so funny. I just died. That was hilarious. I can't believe it. They just nailed it so well. It was just so hilarious. I mean, they're not in a hateful way. Don loves it too. He's laughing his head off as well. We thought it was hilarious, and I think it's a compliment. If people go out of their way to do a parody of you, and those guys are wonderful. I mean, they're friends of the show as well. They're in here a lot in our YouTube chat room supporting us, and so I know it's not in any mean or hurtful way. It was just hilarious though. So again, head over to Bigfoot Odyssey, YouTube.com. Bigfoot Odyssey, and check out last night's show at about the 25-minute mark if you want to just get to the part I'm talking about. So it's just very good humor. But I got some stories pulled up that have to do with Halloween. And I know it's the day after Halloween, but I think that we're still going to be in the Halloween spirit here for a few more days. Anyway, I know I don't ever like to let go of Halloween too quickly because I love Halloween. So we're going to talk about Halloween a little bit here, and these are experiences that people apparently had during the Halloween season. Oh, this one even has pictures. All right, so this is out in New York, and it says, my ghost story occurred a few days before Halloween in 2010. On October 26th, 2010, and my family and I decided that it would be fun to visit a local family cemetery that had looked to have been abandoned for a long time, just to do a fun ghost hunt to get in the mood for Halloween. So we arrived at the cemetery during the night off Birdseye Hollow Road. And again, this is in New York, so a heavily wooded dirt road that we were surprised how unkempt this cemetery was. With many of the gravestones just have fallen over time. And at this point, we knew that this would be fun. So we started our ghost hunt, and this was a very relaxed ghost hunt because we weren't at all expecting anything to happen. We were just looking for a creepy good old time, and we were just messing around, acting like we heard something or we got shoved by a ghost. And we didn't bring much equipment for the hunt, just a video camera and a picture camera. And we took our videos and pictures, reviewed pictures on the spot, and unfortunately we caught nothing at the time. Nothing at all caught our attention on this ghost hunt, but we did succeed on getting that creepy feel during Halloween time. And after having our fun, we decided it was time to head home. So a couple of days after this ghost hunt, I decided I would check out the pictures we took on the hunt just to make sure that there was nothing on those pictures that was paranormal. But in two pictures, two things really caught my eye. In one picture, I can spot something that looks exactly like a face in this one tree that stands out from the leaves. At first, I looked to see if it was a leaf, but then it was just too big to be a leaf, and the color of it was different from the other leaves. Right, you got paycheck. What? Oh, that's funny. 5 Hazel, thank you. So I zoomed in on the picture, and I can clearly see all the features of a face such as eyebrows, eyes, mouth, chin, nose, in the exact spot where they should be. Sorry, my mouth is tired, I guess, from last night. And it is shaped like a face. I was shocked to see this because it completely stood out to me as a face, but is way too coincidental to be a leaf, in my opinion. If you look in the picture with the tree all the way to the right, you can see this face in the lower right part of the tree. And the face is looking down. Hopefully you guys will be able to zoom in on the face to see all the features of a face, because it is surprising how much it looks like a face. I feel like I'm being programmed with all the mentions of the word face. In another picture, I spotted something really strange about the picture, which makes it very unique, I believe. This may sound crazy, but I noticed that one of the small gravestones is actually see-through. I have no idea how this is possible, but I could clearly see that the gravestone is almost invisible. And I could see behind the gravestone, and I can see the leaves behind it. I'm asking myself the same thing, and you guys probably are, that how is that possible that there's a gravestone ghost? But I don't have any idea. It's just there. It is unexplainable to me. Other than paranormal, the only thing I could think of is that maybe something in the camera flash made the gravestone turn out that way, but then you think that all the gravestones would be that way, so I have no idea. You can see this gravestone in the picture all the way to the right of the second from the right. Again, hopefully you guys can zoom in on the gravestone to see better, and you can definitely see the leaves behind the gravestones. It's just amazing and unique. So I'm going to open these up as much as I can. Now, historically, when I've opened pictures from this page, they don't open very big, so I'm not sure what we'll actually see here. For those of you on YouTube, you'll be able to view this. But those of you listening, all I can tell you is it looks like a fall nighttime cemetery pictures. So far, I'm not really seeing anything really anomalous at all. I don't know if this is the face over here in the corner that they're talking about. Possibly. Let's see. But that's as big as I can make it. I don't have the option of blowing it up bigger without downloading it and putting it into a different program. I don't know. I don't see much anything in this one. Nothing jumps out. I'm not saying that there are not ghosts in these pictures, but I'm just saying that if they are here, they're so subtle, it's really incredibly hard to see them and would take some significant detail or looking. No, I don't know what we're looking at here. Is this a zoom in of the alleged face or something? Anytime you take a picture of a bush, and basically for those of you listening on the audio side of things, it's just a picture of a bush. Now, our brains, there's a word, it's called pareidolia and matrixing, and it's our brain's desire to create familiarity out of chaos. I'm not going to say that always any face is just going to be pareidolia. I think it's a real convenient answer for skeptics. But in many cases, I would agree that people try really hard to see things in images like this that are just a photograph of a bush using a flash at night. And I mean, God, I could probably pick out about, 80 barn animals and a monster face over here. And, it's all that desire to find faces in things. I don't know. To me, I'm not seeing anything in this picture that I think is paranormal at all. The next one, this, I suppose, is the ghost gravestone that they're talking about. And it does look like leaf pattern there. But, that really could be looking transparent. It doesn't look as solid as I would expect it to, because you really can see the leaf, the dead leaf tone, and some green poking through, even through this gravestone. So I'm not sure what would cause that anomaly. You could say movement, but you can see that there are crisp edges here it's kind of at an angle. So it's about 2-inch thick and probably about 18 inches, 12 inches wide, maybe 18 inches wide, and about 24 to 32 inches tall. So it is a three-dimensional, but you can see it's kind of sitting at an angle in the frame here. And so you can see the 2-inch thickness going up one side, and it does have what appears to be very clear lines of the front and back of that side. What would make it appear transparent, I don't know. It may very well just be a function of the camera, but I don't know. It's very strange, though. So those are the pictures. I don't think anything in those pictures is absolutely compelling. It is interesting, and maybe there's something I'm not seeing based upon the description. But here is matrixing again, ladies and gentlemen. Underneath this previous, once this disappears, for those of you on YouTube, watch that. It looks like there's a face back in here. Like this is the hair, and then there's eyes below it. And once previous disappears, you'll see it again. So, but I would say that that's absolutely the matrixing or pareidolia that I was discussing. We want to see familiarity and chaos. So very interesting, but thank you for your attention while I went into those stories. Let's go back to the main camera here. I'll close this and we'll get to some more here. Oh, look at the chat. Oh, you guys are just chatting. Oh, Cha made it in. I should say who is here. I'm sorry. I didn't do any participation yet tonight. 5 Hazel, Bella, Bob in Germany, Cannabis Resolution, Cha Monster, Deb Varner, Dub 45 is here, Gemini Moon, I Am Pam, Linda, Lindsay Bay, Lisa Heilman, Lewis is here, MCat is here, Mogayon, Renee, and the Weird Desk is what's popping up right now for participation in the YouTube chat. And thank you all for being here. Duke just popped up, and the Tool Man Tim. That's awesome. That was such a brilliant name change. Tool Man Tim is here. Awesome. All right, and I don't know the vaults. Let's see who's hanging out in TFR. The chat is always pretty quiet over here because I think most of you guys come over and check us out on YouTube. But Sophia the Bot is in there. Lucky is in there. Hilarious Naysay is in there. Polynation is in there. The Wookiee is in there. Bam. Black Hawk. And Pondering Soul. And that looks like about it over there in TFR. So welcome, everybody. Adrenaline. Vicious Cycle. I'm sorry, ma'am. I don't know. I just see this now that 41 minutes ago. Adrenaline Brent. Yeah, I must be. Oh, you must be talking about how I'm doing. Okay, you're right. Maybe it is adrenaline. After being sleep deprived and doing that extra long stream, yeah, you're right, Bam. That's probably it. Hello, Blackhawk. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate that. Oh, that's Ruthie. Okay, wonderful. I missed you, Ruthie. Good to see you. All right, so continuing on, I got more stories here. I see that. I did see it. She says, it's Ruthie C. I know. I saw that underneath your name. I didn't see it at first because my eyes are kind of foggy and have like a film on them still from last night. But I'm still bravely trying to read you guys interesting stories because that's how I roll. Thank you. All right. So she said, miss you too. Aw. Okay, let's get to this one. And this is a different one, and this one has more to do with a psychic experience of precognition, and again, centering around Halloween. So I've never told this story before, but I am lately have been thinking about it really frequently. This occurred on Halloween night in the year 2000. Well, I was in college and at a Halloween party at a large bar restaurant, and it, of course, was a really fun night. Suddenly, an overwhelming sense of anxiety came over me. The walls felt like they were closing in, and I felt like I couldn't get enough oxygen. Tunnel vision and sweat. I have to get out of here. If I can just go outside, I'll feel better, were my thoughts. And I walked out the front door, and the cool air hit me, and it provided momentary relief, but within seconds, the feelings returned. The bar had a long parking lot that bordered a busy street, and now my feelings of dread were pushing me to leave the parking lot. I need to take a walk if I can just get to the end of the parking lot. So I walked, and with each step I felt better. I need to get to the end of the parking lot and see my friend Jason standing near a brick wall by himself. And seeing him sent a wave of relief over me. My uneasiness was lifted. I can breathe and I feel normal again, and I start walking towards him. I yell his name, but he barely reacts. It's dark, and I can tell that his skin looks pale. His face is non-expressive, and it's like he is looking through me and not at me. He collapses on me, and I slowly lower him to the pavement. He starts coughing and gasping for air. Snot covers his face. I run back to the bar and grab the first person I knew. Jason is in the parking lot. We need to get him to the hospital now. Find someone with a car. Jill comes running out and starts up her Jeep Cherokee, and she pulls around, and I already have Jason halfway standing and help him into the front seat of the car, and I hop into the back. And Jason was one of my best friends, and we had known each other since childhood. We were roommates for most of college, except that year he was having a rough year, and he had gotten into drugs, and people were worrying about him. And this night he had taken a drug called GHB, which is a liquid sedative that causes memory loss, and it's very powerful and easy to overdose on, since the user will forget how much he has taken. Since the user, or since then I forgot how much he has taken. Oh, okay, so the memory loss makes them forget how much they've taken. I got it. I'm sorry. That didn't track right with me for some reason. So we get to the emergency room, and I carry him in, and it's midnight on Halloween. The hospital is packed. The front desk nurse is overwhelmed, does not grasp the severity of the situation. They pull a gurney around, and we sit in a hallway, and I watch Jason's breath get shallow, and Jill and I demand a doctor immediately. And others in the waiting room joined our pleas. He's finally wheeled into a room, and I tell the doctor what I can about the night leading up to this as he and the nurse start connecting monitors. Jason's pulse is reading 37, and his breaths are barely registering. This sets off alarms immediately after the devices are connected. The doctor tells us to leave as others come running in, and Jill and I return to the waiting room and stare at the floor for 30 minutes. The doctor comes in and gets us and says I can come back. Is he awake? I ask. Oh, yeah, replied the doctor. He's real awake now. They had given him a shot of adrenaline to counteract the drugs. Jason is sitting up on the bed with no shirt. He has no recollection of anything up until this point and was surprised and relieved to see me. The doctor says to Jason, if your friend hadn't found you, you would be dead right now. His eyes start to water. I've had moments of clairvoyance throughout my life, but have never experienced the physical symptoms that came with this, and certainly never during such a critical moment. I've never had a panic attack in my life, but the way I hear it described sounds very similar to how I felt right before I found Jason. Is this clairvoyance? Intervention? Has anyone had an experience like this that had a major impact on someone's life? You know, that's really, really cool. Wow. Just the right place at the right time, and due to just this overwhelming urge, psychic urge, or whatever you want to call it. But that is so powerful. I hope that has a happy ending, and then Jason went to treatment and took care of his issues. But I don't know. I guess that part we don't get to know, but at least in this point, this person was able to intervene and help. My eldest son intervened on somebody that was trying to commit suicide, and I was so proud of him. He stepped up, and he was really the brunt of a lot of anger from that person. But after that person got through a bit of those issues, they came back and thanked him, and so I was so proud of him, because it's not easy to do that. It's not easy to put yourself in that position. The person told him it was too late, nothing they could do, and he didn't accept that. And really, really proud of him. And he saved somebody that night. So very cool story. But wow, that's very powerful. Okay, we got another one here. I got to look at the time. How much time has gone? Well, I'm going to wait on another one because we are literally a minute away from our hour break. I'm telling you, that's how come 8 hours of streaming wasn't so bad last night, because we just did an hour in what felt like 3 minutes. It was really that way last night, too. The time just kept passing by. We'd look at the clock and 2 hours had passed. It's like, wow, how'd we get here? But that's how it rolls. But again, thank you to all of you who were with us last night and took part in the parathon. We'll do it again sometime. Actually had a recommendation from Lewis for both a Thanksgiving and a Christmas version of that. I don't know that that's going to be done. Maybe annually we'll do a parathon, but I don't think we're going to break it out for every holiday. That's a lot of work. So, all right, guys, we're going to go to our hour break. We'll be back for hour number 2 in just a couple minutes. Don't go away.
Play their games. Everybody loves to place their bets. They don't understand the price I paid. They don't care to comprehend. Trace their lines upon my body, dripping scars across my heart. Raging anger boils inside me, and their lies keep falling apart. With my silence, I am not a stupid boy. No more breaking me with kindness, just you dance upon my joy. Leading me with empty promise, you're just another fucking mess. Taking off the slice of my sanity, just make sure that you're well fed.
Caroline is not like those she's with. They're attracted to the one thing about her that is different from themselves. Her life force. It is very strong. It gives off its own illumination. It is a light that implies life and memory of love and home and earthly pleasures. Something they desperately desire but can't have anymore. Right now, she's the closest thing to that.
Poltergeists are usually associated with an individual. Hauntings seem to be connected with an area. A house, usually.
Poltergeist disturbances are fairly short duration, perhaps a couple of months. Hauntings can go on for years.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you had a wonderful break. I enjoyed mine, but I notice when I'm not talking, I start getting tired really quick. It's like my eyes are kind of waxed over with this film still, but I'll be better by tomorrow, of course, when Mr. Donald Schmidt is with us. That'll be a great show, and I hope you guys will tune in for that. Donald is just one of those really, really well researched people, and he's written so many books, and I'm sure he's done so much research into the topic. I know he's interviewed hundreds and hundreds of people in regards to the whole Roswell thing. We're going to get into a whole bunch of we'll touch a little bit on Roswell, I'm sure, tomorrow, but we've already done that once on another episode, unless he has more that he wants to share. But we're going to change the gears a little bit and talk about a whole lot of other stuff surrounding the whole disclosure movement and stuff tomorrow. So I think it should be a good show. If not, it's not my fault. But no, I'm just kidding. It'll be wonderful. He's a really interesting guy. I mean, he's one of those guys that every once in a while you catch an interview of someone that you just like to listen to because you know that their position is really well researched. They really know what they're talking about. They're not just pulling stuff out of their ass. They really know what they're doing. And he's one of those people. He really is. He's just very intelligent. So, and all I can say is, if you miss it, there might be something wrong with you. All right, so let's continue on these stories that I've got pulled up. Again, the phone lines are open, 720-923-0500 if you've got something you want to share. And you can always email paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. So let's see. And we'll probably have the phone lines open tomorrow for Donald's appearance as well. So if you have questions about Roswell or any of that whole enigma, it would be a great opportunity to talk to him and to see what he's got to say. Because I'm sure there's not much you could ask this man that he wouldn't know and know well, very well. Let's see. Okay. Stories, Brent. Stories. Yes. All right. I'm there. I'm in the pocket here. I'm in the groove. That's weird. All right. This one's coming from Utah. And it says, my story of an encounter with the supernatural happened when I was 17. And I had an earlier experience with some strange phenomena when I was about 4 years old. But the one I had in my teens was much more frightening. It was 1987, and I was working at a downtown Salt Lake City movie theater. This theater was originally built around 1905 and was a playhouse until it was converted to a movie theater during the 50s. Somewhere between 1955 and 1965, the balcony area was converted into a second theater, separating the top and bottom of the original theater into two separate theaters. At the time, we used to play a lot of artsy type films. Then around the holiday season, like Halloween and Christmas, the theater would play those films that went with those seasons. Now that you have a background set, here's my story. I was working at this theater as an usher, concessionist, cashier, and part-time projectionist. And I also did some backup manager stuff as our crew was quite small. And we shared duties with another theater in the downtown area, the Old Center Theater. And Halloween was coming up and business was really slow. So Our manager, theater manager, I'll call him Ted. You don't need to know his real name. Okay. It's not like we're going to go to meet Ted. Decided that if his crews at both theaters were down for it, we could host a Halloween party at the Utah Theater. This theater had quite a rep for being haunted, with many employees having experiences. So most of us being kids, late teens and early 20s, thought it would be fun. At the time, we were showing Return of the Living Dead Part 2 in one of the theaters, one of my favorite movies of all times. And the plan was we'd party and have a few drinks, and then we'd watch the movie, finish the night with a big staff sleepover. Well, the party got started, and I got pretty drunk. Then someone's boyfriend, one of the staff, said he'd brought a Ouija board and thought we could try it out. That's always not the good plan. And we were all pretty drunk, and most of the people backed out of it. But myself, though, I thought it'd be interesting because I'd never played with one before. So about 4 of the dozen that were there decided to try it out, including me. So we did. We asked the board if there were any spirits that had a message for us or wanted to talk to us. The first time I felt the pointer move by itself, it really freaked me out. It then started answering our questions one by one. Then it would only answer mine. For some reason, it started to focus on me. So I asked who it was I asked who it was I was talking to, and it gave me the initial that was a D or S. I really don't remember. And I asked some other questions and to make a long story short, it said it was a little girl around 10 or 12 years old and that she had died in the theater. So after about an hour of playing with this thing, the atmosphere began to change. People started to get really scared, and by now, most people had stopped playing with the board except for me. I was playing with it by myself. And then the owner of the board saw what I was doing and freaked out. He grabbed the board and said he was done for the night. I was upset with him, but was getting tired and was ready to get some sleep, so I asked Ted, the manager, where we were going to bed down for the night. Well, apparently the Ouija board had freaked everybody out and everybody wanted to leave. Well, now I was pissed. I'd planned on staying there the night, and there was no way I was going to go home to my parents as drunk as I was, so I asked if I could still stay. Ted thought for a minute and said, okay. So we cleaned up and set up my sleeping bag in the manager's office and walked everyone out the door. And the assistant manager, we called her Mel, handed me the keys to the entire theater and asked me if I was going to be okay. I said I'd be fine. And she gave me a hug, and we were close like that, and let her out and made sure everything was locked up tight and headed back down to the manager's office. By the way, this place was huge. It had a main theater, a balcony theater, a basement, and a sub-basement, which, by the way, connected to the old Salt Lake City sewer system built back in the 1880s, and it had been bricked off by the sub-basement. And the main theater, which had the stage from its Playhouse days, with scaffolding over the stage and the staircase that went down into the old dressing rooms. It was really late. I was still buzzing from the booze, but I was getting hungry, and we'd ordered pizza and still had some left, so I fired up the popcorn machine and got a big Coke and decided since everyone chickened out, I wasn't going to let the spoil my night and was going to continue with the plan we had, which was to watch The Return of the Living Dead 2. Since I knew how to work the projector, I threaded the film through the projector and loaded it up on the platter. These were the days of non-digital film, and sat and had a private viewing in an empty theater of one of my favorite films. It was awesome. Anyway, after the film was over, made sure the projector was turned off and cleaned up my mess. I was getting a little wide-eyed and busy-tailed. It's bushy-tailed, I think, and decided to start exploring the theater. So I went into the manager's office and opened up my surplus duffel bag and dumped out the contents on the floor. It consisted of one pair of woodland camo BDUs, a pair of jungle combat boots, a buck knife, a camo headband, and face paint. Not to mention a big wooden baseball bat. After I changed and applied the face paint, I went on patrol through the theaters. We had a large number of tall plants in our lobby. I spent a great amount of time running from plant to plant, hiding behind them. Then I'd crawl on my belly through open areas and run screaming up the ramps to the upper theater. I kept screaming out, calling the spirit's name, telling it to come out and face me like a man. I did this for a good hour, maybe 2, running around the place, screaming like a madman and acting like a hooligan. Well, I finally got really bored and stood in the middle of the lobby and blurted out, You're all a bunch of wimps." As soon as I said that, the lobby got really cold, and a strange darkness began to gather. The next thing that happened was I heard a thunderous boom that shook the place and a voice scream, "Get out!" I ran out into the manager's office, locked and barricaded the door, and crawled under the desk and stayed there the rest of the night. The next morning, the assistant manager, Mel, showed up early and brought me breakfast. She was supposed to open for the day anyway, and since had her keys, Ted had given her his. So she walks into the theater and heads to the office. She unlocks the door but couldn't get it open since I'd barricaded the door. So she starts pounding on the door and calling my name, so I crawled out from under the desk, moved the barricades, and opened the door. And she asked if I was okay, and then stops and looks at me. She could tell I was visibly spooked, dressed like a Rambo reject, and with dried camel paint on my face. I managed to crack a smile and told her, "Do got a story to tell you." That's my ghost story, one of them at least. After that night, for as long as I worked there, I kept having issues with the spirits. One shoved me down a flight of stairs. Another shoved me into the big popcorn maker. Then while I was talking to another employee in the back food prep area behind the concession stand, a knife flew across the room and impaled into the wall right next to my head I was leaning against. Oh, man. Right next to my head was leaning against. I don't know. That didn't really make sense, but I assume a knife hit near his head. I kept seeing a little girl in a polka dot dress. Others saw her too. Each time I saw it or someone else saw it, something would happen to me. I had a plastic cup that I used to drink Coke out of explode on me, just all sorts of weird things. Later on in life, I reported this story to a Utah ghost hunter group and got no response. The theater was sold my last year of high school to a playhouse that wanted to turn it back into a theater for live plays. About 5 years later, it closed up. I can remember walking past the theater after it was closed up, all boarded up. I always got a really creepy feeling something was looking back at me. One time I was in my mid-20s, married with children. My family and I were living in Provo at the time, and we took a trip into downtown Salt Lake with my wife's mom. They went shopping, and I went off wandering. I walked past that old theater and noticed a small crack in the boards covering the old cashier's booth. It was connected to the inside of the theater's very long hallway that went back to the lobby. Well, I took a peek through the crack and could see all the way down the old hallway into the lobby. It wasn't very lit. It was pretty dirty inside. And when I peered through the crack, something caught my eye. A dark shadow started to gather in the lobby and formed into a large oval shape. It was pitch black, but had substance to it, and started to drift slowly down the hallway towards me. I got that really creepy but familiar feeling. I jumped back, not sure if what I saw was real, then peered back again through the crack, and it was getting closer. Well, I didn't look again. I started to walk very fast away from that place, and I haven't been back since. I think it's gone now, that old theater, with all the old construction they've done in that city. I don't know. And being truthful, I don't really care. Well, that's creepy. That's but there's an old wisdom. You never taunt the spirits. You never mock the dead. And there's a reason why, because apparently they don't like being mocked. They don't like it one bit, as it turns out. So I wouldn't suggest it. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. there's a whole bunch of you guys here now on the YouTube channel. Thank you guys for being here and being a part of tonight's journey through the paranormal portal. I'm absolutely thrilled. You guys are paying attention to me. It's like, oof. It's just a lot of fun to do the show, and it's a lot of fun to read these stories. I really enjoy them. That one's kind of creepy. I mean, that guy was being a real jerk. I can't feel real bad for him that he had a bad experience. He really did ask for it. I think it was fine up until he started really mocking things and really taunting. Now, a lot of the ghost shows that came out, like Ghost Adventures when they first came out, their big thing was provocation. They were going to be the tough guys. And I'm telling you, Zach Baggins has been possessed more times than what can I say? More times than fill in the blank. I don't know. I tell you, that guy's always dealing with something. And their approach has matured through the years, and that's good. And I do enjoy the show. Don't get me wrong. I really enjoy Ghost Adventures. I think it's a lot of fun to watch, and I think through the years you just get to know the people on it, and you've been through a lot of those places with them in a sense. And so, I mean, it's fun. It's good entertainment, but I don't know how much of that is real and how much of it is just creative editing. I do believe they probably have some very legitimate evidence, and I think that perhaps they are forced in some positions to maybe exaggerate some other evidence. And that's not a dig. It's really not. I can imagine it must be incredibly tough to be in a situation where you have to provide a show. You have to provide entertainment, which is based around proof. And you have to deliver content. And if you don't have content, you may have to be forced to exaggerate content. And I think that's unfortunate. But then again, people are especially in our society, we are so instant gratification oriented. We don't want to wait for our entertainment. And if that show's not entertaining for a period of time, I think people would grow real bored of it. So I think that's one of the reasons they go to all those different really hotspot locations, is because they're just looking for the best odds to capture something, because they must have an extraordinary amount of pressure. But yeah, again, I love the shows. I really like them all, to be honest with you. There's only one show that I didn't like. And the problem is that I was really excited for the idea of it. And here's the thing. It was, and as ashamed as I am to admit it, it was Mountain Monsters. And the reason I was excited for it, because I thought, how about that? How about the concept of having, some people that live, eat, and breathe hunting, like go out and try to track these things down? How about that? I mean, maybe these guys could really do a good job at it. So I was encouraged. These were hill folk, is what they explained. So I figured they know the country, they know their woods, they know how things work, they know the way what animals behave. Maybe they could do it. And so I was really excited for Mountain Monsters, and then of course Mountain Monsters actually came out, and I got to watch Mountain Monsters. And the first episode, I was like, I don't know. And then it was just a long path of disappointment after that. And I soon realized that it was a whole lot of entertainment value, and not a whole lot of, if any, actual research or, I mean, my God, they did an episode. They did an episode of a Mothman. Okay. So one of the parts of Mountain Monsters, if you've never watched it before, is that part of the whole thing is they try to trap these things. Now, every show, they come up with these extraordinarily elaborate traps, and the monster will break through them, or they will miscalculate how strong it is, or it'll do something they didn't expect. And it's just this huge, it's like a soap opera. It's like Scooby-Doo for kids or for adults. But they did the show on the Mothman. And can you imagine the trap they decided to come up with? Just think about it for a second. What would be a trap that that you would use to trap a Mothman? Well, how about a big electrified cage with a ultraviolet light in the middle? They built a big bug zapper, for God's sakes. I was like, oh no. So That was about the dumbest thing I'd ever seen in my life. A big bug zapper. Yeah, you got it right. So Duke nailed that one. And so you got to think, oh my God, that's what they came up with. This is what they came up with. And then they try to lure it in with torches. I mean, my God. Oh, like it's a bug. Like they treated it like it was a bug. Oh dear God! And of course, if you're familiar with the Mothman prophecies and stuff, you know that the Mothman is supposed to be incredibly intelligent. It's supposed to be maybe an omen against dark things coming and such. But they tried to trap it like it was a moth, except a really big one. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That's the mountain monsters for you. Good fun though. If you haven't seen the show, you can't. And then these guys go out, they do their research on these big side by side ATV vehicles. It's like they're going into all these rugged places, but they're riding ATVs to get there because not one of them is under $3. There's no way. They're some big boys. Funny show. And I'm not fat shaming them. I mean, whatever. I mean, if they like their food, good for you. But I don't think you're probably going to be able to get a side-by-side into places where you need to go to research cryptids. But just my 2 cents. I was very disappointed in that show very quickly. So anyway, my hope waned quickly on the mountain monsters delivering proof of these elusive cryptids. That's so funny. Okay, this one's probably perfect size. I got one more, and then we got another break, and then we're going to come back for some more. So here's one more from North Carolina. It says, before I even get into my story, I strongly and firmly believe children are more sensitive to paranormal than an adult was. I think probably all children at some point have had an experience and either forget it or suppress it. And for me, I remember I could never sleep on Halloween night. There was something about it, the energy perhaps, that prevented me from sleeping. Well, anyway, here are a few experiences I remember having as a child and hope you enjoy them. One Halloween in particular I remember very vividly. I was lying in bed, unable to sleep as I normally am on Halloween, and my attention was drawn to my door. Well, I happened to glance at the space above my door. It was probably about 3 feet of wall, and there was a shadow of a skeleton above my door frame. There wasn't anything in my room, and there was nothing on my ceiling that would explain the shadow or make it appear. I remember being frozen in fear and unable to get up or call for help. But after closing my eyes a few times, the shadow eventually disappeared. I couldn't have been any older than 7 or 8, but still, at 29, I remember that image very vividly, and it wasn't the full skeleton. The legs were cut off, so it was mostly the skull, rib area, and pelvis. And I don't know or think that played any significance, but I vividly remember seeing a skeleton unexplained on the wall. I don't remember if this was the same night or later down the road, but in my bedroom I had a wooden high chair my grandfather made me for my dolls, and I remember looking over at night, and it took the shape of a black cat. Other things in my room would take forms of other things too, as if I was in a scary version of Alice in Wonderland. The cat was black with long whiskers and had huge white eyes that seemed to see right through me. Just like the first episode, I remember being unable to move or just being frozen in shock or fear perhaps. Lately, I've had a lot of my childhood memories come back, and many of them did involve something paranormal. I will share my experience as I remember them, and I always appreciate the feedback. So, I don't know. That's different. That's a different kind of thing. And is that an incredibly powerful mind just coming to terms with itself? Is this a kid got some kind of psychic ability and they're seeing that manifest around them? I don't know. Very strange. I don't have the answers, but I got a lot of questions. So remember, after the show, after the Paranormal Portal tonight, to stick around if you're listening on TFR, iHeart, TuneIn, or TalkStream Live, because Paisley Wild will be following the show with the Spaces Between show podcast as well. they do put out a podcast, but that'll be following us here on TFRlive.com. And they do she does a YouTube stream as well, and you can find her YouTube channel at The Spaces Between. And it's a good show. If it deals a lot with paganism and understanding that walk and going into topics about it. And she really has made the show basically cataloging her journey into the pagan practices. And so if you're at all interested in that, if it's just academic or if you're actually a practicing pagan yourself, you can become part of the discussion and be a part of The Spaces Between, following the Paranormal Portal here. So we'll be right back, everybody. Don't go away. I'll be back with the last half hour of our show. I got more for you just right around the bend. Don't go away. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Paranormal Portal. We are in our last half hour here. I forgot to change the camera on YouTube, so they think that's dead air for a while, but that's all right. Keeps them on their toes. They got each other. They're doing a bunch of chatting, so that's cool. Lots of people in the YouTube audience. Thank you all for being here and being a part of the show. That means a lot to me. And again, we had such a great crowd last night for the Parathon. I was pretty sure when I was going to do it that it was just going to be a small number of people after a certain point because it's work night. And, I wish Halloween was always on a Friday night or something, but that's just the way it rolls. But there was a ton of people all the way through with us. And it was great because it was like everybody was in the competition together to see how far they could go. So it was just such a camaraderie that developed through the course of the Parathon. And thank you to all of you that were there. That was awesome. So tonight we were just going through some Halloween stories because I'm not quite ready to give up on the whole Halloween theme yet. I like it. I like Halloween. It just passes too quickly. It's like all this build up and then boom. But every holiday is that way. It's like 4th of July. All this build up and then you watch some stuff blow up and it's like, okay, time to go home. And Christmas, you whip off the presents, you spend time with your family, and then boom, time to go back. So it's kind of the way it works. All this anticipation for just a quick execution and then done. But that's okay. There's always more portals, and I'll keep doing them for as long as you guys want to pay attention to them. So let's see what's next. I'm just looking at the chat here. And again, the phone lines are open. 1.5 hour left if you want to call in. It's fine. 720-923-0500. Jesus, why am I saying nines? I really am tired still. I apologize, but I'm actually not feeling tired, but I've noticed my mouth is not cooperating with my head as much as it should be. 720-923-0500 is the call-in number for the show. I am going through stories of Halloween encounters with the paranormal as we try to understand the paranormal, as we try to learn from each and every story. Okay, so this one is actually coming from the Philippines, and I think that's kind of cool. We're going a little bit abroad on this one to see what's going on in the Philippines. It says, I was a newly hired staff nurse in one of the biggest hospitals in Quezon City when this happened to me. It was my first night duty on the 5th floor of the hospital, and it was on Halloween. And as me and my other coworkers go about routines during the night shift, we were joking around and making fun of our when our conversation turned to the paranormal since it's Halloween. My senior nurse told me that there is a ghost roaming around our floor and that it was the ghost of one of our supervisors who passed away years before, way before I was even hired. Sorry, I had to cough. I shrugged at the notion of it and went on to do my work and what was assigned to me. And as the night went on, my senior nurse decided to take a break in the lounge, probably to doze off for a while. Before she went on break, she reminded me, that was weird. Like my voice fed back to me really hard. Before she went on break, she reminded me about the patient census to be given to the supervisor, and I gave her a nod since I was busy writing my notes for the night. It was at 3 a.m., and I was still busy writing my notes when a woman in uniform approached our station and asked about the census. I answered back, giving only a glance since I knew that she worked there too. When I went on with my work, and when the senior nurse asked me if someone asked about the census, I said yes, and she asked who called. With confusion written all over my face, I said no one called. A supervisor came up to the station and asked for the census. I still can remember how the senior nurse face turned white when she told me that someone was the ghost of the dead supervisor she told me about. That's a commitment right there, ladies and gentlemen. If you have an employee that loves their job and is so dedicated to their job that they continue to do it after they're dead, that's a hell of an employee. You can't do much better than that, I don't think. That might be the best you can possibly hope for. All right, so this one has to do with telepathy. It says, "Hi, Victor here. Just wanted to bring to light a few observations that I've had over the years. I'm 18 now and was born a clairvoyant empath. From the year 1999 when I was 7, But seriously, folks, I've noticed an increase in the number of ghost sightings and even demon and angel sightings, plus the mysterious cataclysmic events that happen almost every other day. There's been an increasing number of people experiencing some sort of psychic phenomena. Even gifts that are rare seem to be occurring to even the most normal of people. I'm serious. People have been having dreams of a neighbor's car being demolished, and it happens. And then the rise of recent crimes in which people have really no memory of how or why it happened. I watched the trial of the guy who just got married. It says Marred, but I think they mean married, before Halloween Day. Well, during the week of and killed his wife the night after Halloween, and was found naked walking down the street with no memory of how he got there. So I guess the guy got married just before Halloween, and on Halloween night killed his wife and was found naked wandering around. He looked lost during the trial, really, and looking into his eyes as the camera panned onto him, he wasn't there, and it was like looking into a shell. I don't know what's happening, but I can feel it within my bones, even stronger than that. The moment of anticipation, everything seems to rise to a crescendo, like watching an orchestra. All the notes in the music blend together to produce a final note, and then bring it slowly down back to the soft melody. When I think of a question in my head, I sometimes intuitively know the answer, and a lot of the stories being lived by others will end. It's like giving a reading to the other person's life is like a book you are only giving a summary about, but for the ones that do continue, this will be a very valuable and non-forgettable lesson and chapter in their story, because everyone will lose something. That I don't know, the story is written so terribly. The sentences are just one big block of crap. But for ones that do continue, this will be a very valuable and non-forgettable lesson and chapter in their story, because everyone will lose something, even those who stand for good. Okay. I have until I am 32. Well, I feel that and know I will have a brush against death again then. And before that, I know my price too for what I will lose. And it's too hard to... I'm not even going to read this. This is ridiculous. This is not... Okay, there's a popular anime, and it's called... what the hell is it called? It has to do with these alchemist brothers, and basically it's this law of equivalent exchange, that to get something you have to give something. And I don't believe in that for a moment. Other than traditional effort and stuff, you put in effort, you get something from that. This person is trying to tie in magical philosophy with psychic, and I don't agree with that at all. And I don't even think that that's true magical philosophy. I think that's just some lore. But anyway, I'm not reading any more of that. That's ridiculous. Here we go to North Carolina. What the hell is that name? The name of that show, though. It's 2 words. Something to do with metal or something like that. Anyway, I can't remember. Sorry about that. That's what I get for being tired. But I know, I believe where he's getting that from is his fascination with anime is what's coming to me. So anyway, we'll continue on. Okay. North Carolina, we're going next here, ladies and gentlemen. There's a couple of pictures here. Oh, that's interesting. Might be an orb. Okay. Trick or treat was held the day before Halloween here in this small town, but I don't think that in any way hindered the spirits from showing themselves that night. While we were waiting for trick or treat to start, I took many snapshots and videos of my dad and brother being silly, hamming it up for the cameras, and I caught many orbs, but attributed them to dust, and except for one. There's this one orb that stood out. It was pink and seemed to emit its own light. I see the photo that they're talking about here. I'll show it on the other screen in just a moment. It was right next to my dad, who sadly just lost his mother very recently. Considering grandmother's favorite color was pink, to the point that she painted her whole living room this color. I think it just might have been her. I'll include the picture with this posting. I would also like to add, since that night, I have not caught one orb in photos while visiting. Later that night, or early the next morning, just this past Halloween around 1 a.m., I decided to tell my best friend, Christy, to turn into a graveyard near my house on her way to taking me home. We both had been itching all night to check out the haunted places, but instead we were coerced into hanging out with family and friends, and after we stopped at the graveyard, we began scanning the grounds and asked if there was anyone around. Could they please show themselves in a photo? I snapped pictures as fast as my crappy camera would allow, and it began to feel really creepy. After about 10 minutes of walking around, it sounded like someone or something was walking around the woods behind us. So Christy went back to her car with her husband. Her husband was seated in the back passenger seat and was having some fast food while we hunted. Reluctantly, I returned after she blew the horn a few times. Getting impatient, as I returned, I was snapping pictures the whole way. And what is odd is when I get to the car, I jokingly asked Christy, who was in the car with you guys? After reviewing what I caught, utilizing my utilizing. I think it's utilizing my larger computer screen. I found there were lots of orbs, which have the tendency to discredit unless they appear to have their own light source. But on the last shot, something was out of the ordinary. I'm posting the final photo here. You can see Christy's husband's forehead above the front passenger seat, but right next to the seat is an eerie image of what appears to me to be an old hag of some sorts. What do you think? Well, I'll pull it over here and we'll look at that. All right. So I got it over here. Let me open this. So first of all is this orb picture. That's actually a pretty good orb picture. There's the orb picture, ladies and gentlemen, of the father who had just lost his mom, whose favorite color was pink. And that is really a pink orb. I can't blow it up any more than that, so I do apologize. But I don't see... initially, I don't see anything in the picture which shows that there might have been a lens flare happening or some reflective measure that might cause a pink orb to appear. I mean, nothing looks like an extraordinary hot spot in any of this. The whites are washed out, of course, but I don't see any reason that orb should be there. So that really might be a spirit orb. I'm not going to say for sure it is because, I don't know, I imagine this picture was cropped to some degree, so it's hard to see everything in here. But with what I can see, I don't see a cause for this orb. However, the full image might have showed something really reflecting from the back there. So without knowing for sure, I see there's another little something here, though. So that would be a linear down to somewhere. There might be something under them. There's another one right here. And these, I don't believe, are spirit orbs. I think these are something to do with the hot spots from that white, which they're wearing. I can't tell from where. This might be from the button coming back or coming down, depending on the angle. But it looks like the flash is probably right about in plane with this. So I would expect, you see that hot spot on that button, that may be causing this little micro lens flare here. I don't know. This one on the top, I don't know for sure where that's coming from, but it's nothing too extraordinary. But this one does seem to be anomalous with what we can see. So I would say that, yeah, that's a good, at least a possibility that is indeed a spirit orb. And if the color pink does corroborate with the deceased mother's favorite color, then I think that's a pretty strong indicator and may very well be exactly what it is. But there's a lot I don't know, and so I will never say for sure it is or isn't, but it's just peculiar. So here we are. I can't blow that up enough. I think what they're talking about, there's the forehead there, but I think it was next to him here. Looks I don't know. Is that the rear view brake light that usually sits up in those Jeep windows? I don't know. Without being able to blow it up more, it's just way too hard to tell. So, I don't know. It's curious, but nothing definitive. If we could really blow it up, we could get a look. It does look like it could perhaps be a figure in that back seat that's kind of opaque, but I don't know. It would just be guessing. So those are a couple more images that came up, and those are the things that I look for when I'm looking at images. And I'm no professional, but I have taken many courses on photography, and I'm actually close to an associate's degree in photography, but I never did finish it. But those are just things that jump out to me. So, well, whatever. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Just a couple new pictures to check out as part of our journey through the portal tonight. Let's get another story. Let's grab another one, shall we? Oh, here we go. Again with the Ouija boards. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you, this comes up a whole bunch. We've done shows on Ouija boards, and you can find them in our archives if you look on YouTube and TFR. If you remember, you'll see some of the archives there. But Ouija boards, I don't think, are inherently evil. Like, some people are really anti-Ouija boards to a fault. Like, they just think that they are the playground of the devil. And I don't know. I mean, I don't think anything is good or bad by virtue of itself. It's just how it's used or misused that makes them, wrong or right. Like, a hammer isn't inherently evil. A hammer can build your house, or it can help you build, it can help you complete chores. But if you use it to, go after somebody's kneecap, then it's a terrible thing, right? So it's not much different for a lot of other things in life. Nothing by itself is inherently evil, but by virtue of how it's used, it can become a tool of that. So I think most people just don't know how to use Ouija boards. I think there's a lot of preparation that should be done before ever using one. And there's a lot of learning to do about how to close connections and close portals. You should never open a portal you can't close. That's dangerous to a large degree. Now, 99% of the time, people will use the Ouija boards and nothing happens. And another 0.5% of the time, something silly happens that may or may not be. But there's like this small percentage of times where things really go sideways, and people have had to fight for their lives because something dark and horrible came through. And so I'm certainly not one to propagate the fear of a Ouija board, but I think that they should be like everything else. Anytime you're using some form or oracle or medium to communicate with the dead, it comes with possibilities and dangerous possibilities at that. Because I do believe there are dark things out there. I really do. I don't believe in an all-present evil. I don't believe that everything dark people mess with is a demon, but I think there are several different types of entities that can be extraordinarily negative and can victimize people. So, but I think that people need to understand what they're doing, and the fact that Ouija boards are recommended for ages 8 and up, I think is just, that to me is terrifying. So, and I'll also say that most people don't know how to close a session. And just a little insight, dragging a piece of plastic over the words goodbye does not close a session. That is not closing that's for lack of a better term, that circuit, that connection. That's not just dragging it over goodbye. Is not going to close it out completely. So you have to be careful with stuff like that. So anyway, let's see what's going on here. Again, this is all my 2 cents. Take it or leave it, whatever. This is coming from New Zealand. This is a true story, and some don't believe me, but I thought that I should share because I wanted more vivid explanation of what happened that night. Note, I'm 14 years old, but this is a very true story. It was Halloween, and I was visiting my grandmother, and she is a Wiccan of Wiccan descent. And she told me that made me a Wiccan too. So on Halloween, my grandmother said it would be respectful to do a ceremony to respect the dead. So my friend and I, Zach, dressed up in makeshift ceremonial gowns and robes, and we went into the empty clearing near the old village near my grandmother's. And Zach and I wanted to do more than just a ceremony, so Zach brought his Ouija board from his mother's closet, and we started. At first, we did a little prayer, of course, to prevent from anything bad happening to us, like takeovers. And before the ceremony, I remember getting an instant headache, and my hairs were all on end. And Zach asked me what was wrong, and I said, I felt a presence, and he said it was probably my nerves. So we went on. When we started, we asked 4 questions that we thought were most important. Is there a spirit with us? The Ouija board slid to yes, slowly. What is your gender? What is your name? The name spelled Anaya Marie, Anniya, and then Marie. I'm wondering if it meant to sound like Anna Marie. The last question was, are you angry? The pointer stayed still for about 30 seconds, and then it shot to yes. Zach and I felt there were some more questions to be answered, but we were both a little scared from the sudden answer. Finally, Zach asks, are you a bad spirit? And the board spelled times, Times. Does that mean yes? I was confused. But what really got me was when I asked, will you hurt us? Suddenly I got weird static in my headphones. And the board went to territory. After that night, I had frequent headaches, and I'd often see things in the corner of my eye. But maybe it was a coincidence. But was it a coincidence that the next morning Zach and I had very similar scratches on our backs the next morning? What if something followed us home? Bingo! Yahtzee! That's the one part. Yeah, we got done. We put it back in the box. Because we're done. No, you're not. You're not done yet. That's not it. But anyway, I don't know. Everybody's got to come to their own conclusions on this stuff. But I think that, again, Ouija boards for the most part are just little tools. They're just little objects. And they are what they are. But if you're going to use one, definitely know what you're doing. Definitely do some research. Figure out how to set a ceremony up. The problem with Ouija boards is that, and at the fear of being redundant, I'll say it again because there's 70 some people here, so I want to make sure that you all have the same information. But it's a portal. And before you use any kind of ceremony, before you conduct any kind of ceremony of divination, you should set your ceremony and you should set your environment, tune your environment to good things, expel bad things from your environment. Those are some precautionary things you can do, and you can do that through sage, through prayers, through holy water, through salt, through whatever. It just depends on what your paradigm is, but I mean, that's precautionary. And then when you're done, if you don't know how to close a session, at least say a lot of prayers, use holy water, call the angels to close it, call spirit guides to close it, whatever. Just, make sure you believe in what you're saying. But just be careful using those things. Again, I'm not trying to hype them up. A lot of people believe they're just garbage and silly, and that's fine. But there's a lot of people that have had a lot of problems with these silly little things, and obviously it's not just in their head. So, or maybe it is, but if it's real in their head, it's real for real. Because we manifest our reality, right? So if you think they're silly, maybe they are. But if everybody doesn't think they're silly, then suddenly they're not silly. So anyway, because it's us forming our realities. But be careful if you're using the Ouija board, ladies and gentlemen. Again, I have one on the wall. It's nailed up. It's never been used. It's just decorative for the studio. But I'm not afraid of them. I'm not afraid of things like that. But I do believe that I understand some of the dynamics that would go into using that if I chose to, but I don't need to do that. I don't need to drag a piece of plastic across the board. But if you're into that, go ahead, but just know what you're doing. Okay, so let's see. I got time for one more. What time is left, ladies and gentlemen? We got 40 seconds. I don't have time for one more, ladies and gentlemen. That's going to wrap up our journey here into the Paranormal Portal for the night. Thank you to all of you who have been here with us throughout this journey tonight and last night and every night that you come. Subscribe, like, share on YouTube, and love you all. Stick around for Paisley Wild coming up next. Spaces Between. Love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. Good night, everybody.
Woo!